the arena lights snap down. Music is a lull in the speakers. Then Rasheeda speaks, but not in a quiet aside. Her voice cracks the set like glass. Cameras pivot, producers freeze. For a moment, the show is a live fuse burning toward a single impossible moment. She steps forward. The words are not whispers. They are accusations shaped by years of held-back hurt. "How long were you planning to lie to me?" she asks, each syllable landing like a strike. The audience inhales together. A chair scrapes. Someone gasps. A cameraman's lens quivers. The on-set laughter evaporates. Yandy's face goes from composed to unmed in the space of a blink. The teleprompter blurs with the sudden sweat of live television. Guests exchange looks that say they are seeing a side nobody expected. Close-ups catch a hand trembling at a coffee cup. The floor of reality tilts. Viewers at home reach for their phones before the producers can cut to commercial. Clips start leaking. The clip goes viral while the camera is still rolling. Microphones keep picking up fragments. A name, a smile, a threat half-spoken. Security threads itself through the set like a ribbon trying to steady a storm. The host tries to steer the moment back to the script. It refuses. Emotions refuse. Rasheeda's face is a map of pain and resolve. Her final sentence lands like a gavel. The room goes still. People remember where they were when the scream of truth broke in. This was not a random outburst. It was the summit of pressure and secrets. To make sense of the blow that landed that night, we have to walk backward into the tangled months that led up to it. Every tension, every hidden message, every whispered meeting must be examined under a brighter, unforgiving light with new context. Before that electric moment ignited stage lights and social media feeds at the same time, the truth had been simmering beneath Atlanta's glittered surface. The cast had returned for season 13, expecting familiar shade, nostalgia, maybe a soft reset, but these weren't the same friendships the audience remembered. Years had carved thin cracks into the foundation, and pressure made every one of them visible. What looked like glam was actually survival. What looked like peace was a truce written in invisible ink. Yandy and Yandy had history, not loud history, but quiet loyalty threaded through events, premieres, shared cameras, whispered sympathy during scandals. They stood together publicly during personal storms, and each believed the other understood pain without asking for details. But admiration turned heavy when trust wasn't evenly returned. Behind the scenes, rumors about withheld conversations and private alliances started chipping away at confidence. Atlanta thrives on whispers, and this time those whispers got sharp. Producers had noted the subtle changes. Confessions in green rooms carried an unfamiliar edge. A simple reunion dinner left the table colder than it started. Yandy's tone seemed protective of new friendships, and Rasheeda's eyes sometimes held worry disguised as strength. Fans noticed shifts to social media interactions dipped, captions hinted at distance, and live comments speculated about tension even before anyone said the word betrayal. Meanwhile, personal battles outside the stage layered emotions inside it. Family loyalties, business moves, loyalty tests, everything intersected. A single text thread could change someone's tone for the entire day. People in Atlanta call it energy, but here, energy was truth trying to surface. Every cast member felt the vibration, even if they didn't understand it yet. Something unspoken hovered like humidity before a storm. Every greeting carried too much weight. Every joke sounded like code. Every camera lens felt like a witness, waiting for its moment. And when the season opened, it brought all those hidden threads to one space where eyes couldn't look away and emotions refused to stay polite. That tension didn't arrive suddenly. It was built brick by brick, moment by moment, until all that pressure needed was one spark to explode. And the spark came in the most unexpected way, at a moment that should have felt calm when nobody was prepared for the trigger. It happened in the middle of a scene that was supposed to be like a casual energy check, a catch-up vibe moment. Producers planned to ease everyone back into things. Drinks sweating on glass tables, lashes fluttering, mics tucked neatly. A perfect Atlanta afternoon where shade usually came wrapped in humor. But beneath the laughter, emotions were tight like tripwire. And then one sentence sliced through the calm like a polished blade. Yandy leaned in casually, smiling like she was offering grace. "You know, I always got love for you, but some things just don't need to be shared if it's not my place." The tone was soft. The impact was not. It was a confession without naming names, an apology without owning truth. And Rasheeda heard what everyone else missed. The confirmation that something had been kept from her. Her fingers stilled around her glass. Her breath sharpened. The music in the venue suddenly felt too loud and every camera swiveled as if it sensed a heartbeat shifting its rhythm. Security glanced toward producers. A PA held her walkie tighter. Yandy didn't look worried at first. She thought she was smoothing over tension, not setting the fuse. But Rasheeda's silence became the loudest thing in the room. "Not your place," she whispered first. Not angry, just stunned. Betray has stages. Shock always comes before fire and then the spark. "So you chose to protect someone else, instead of telling me the truth." The volume rose, like destiny. Head snapped up across the set. Laughter died in mid-breath. Yandy blinked, the kind of blink where excuses gather but can't form fast enough. "It wasn't my business," she said, the wrong phrase at the wrong moment. Rasheeda stood slow, deliberate, no theatrics needed. "But it was my life," she shot back. "And you sat on it, like silence wasn't a choice." Phones weren't allowed rolling. They rolled anyway. But someone's bracelet shook as they lifted a cup. The air felt electric, thick enough to choke on. A single producer whispered, "We lost control." Because what Yandy thought was diplomacy, Rasheeda felt as betrayal. Not gossip, not clout-driven drama, but loyalty cracked in two. The moment wasn't about who said what. It was about who stayed silent when truth mattered most. And as Rasheeda's voice echoed, the realization spread. This wasn't performance. This was personal. And the fallout wouldn't stay inside four walls. It was already racing to fans who had been waiting for the first explosion of the season. The second that moment hit the air, reality and television blended into one wild current. Before producers could even shout, "Reset," background phones were already buzzing. A stylist in the corner whispered, "Oh, they're going to eat this up." As someone else pretended not to refresh Twitter every 5 seconds. The world outside hadn't seen the footage yet, but energy travels fast in Atlanta. And this energy ran like wildfire through group chats, influencer circles, and blog DMs before the cameras even stopped rolling. Word spread. Rasheeda checked Yandy on camera. No edits, no soft tone, no warning. Clips leaked in seconds. Shaky, vertical, half-muffled audio, but powerful enough to break the algorithm. Fans paused mid-scroll. Hashtags erupted. She had every right. One comment screamed. Another dragged Yandy. Not her acting innocent after holding secrets like paperwork. Memes followed instantly. Eyes bulging. People clutching pearls. Somebody photoshopped Rasheeda breathing fire while Yandy held a shield labeled PR training. Support pages, gossip bloggers, and stan accounts turned it into a digital war zone. Even verified celebs dropped cryptic emojis. The universal Hollywood sign for, "I know something, but I'm not risking my NDA." Meanwhile, production scrambled. Editors were instructed to save every angle. A producer tried calming Rasheeda, but she brushed past, tears glimmering, but pride keeping them in place. Yandy sat stiff, the weight of her own choices crashing down in real time. A castmate pulled her aside, whispering, "Girl, this ain't the time for neutral." Silence suddenly felt heavier than shouting. Fans didn't just react, they dissected. Who was she protecting? Why did she stay quiet? Was this loyalty or betrayal? Threads debated ethics. TikTok voiceovers narrated the confrontation like courtroom audio. Instagram lives popped up analyzing tone, body language, eye movements. Some blamed Yandy for playing diplomat. Others argued Rasheeda deserved more transparency after years of public turmoil. Then the theories started. Names floated. Past scenes resurfaced. Old interviews replayed with new suspicion. The city that built empires on loyalty and illusion was now questioning friendship on national display. And just when viewers thought they had enough shock from fan-captured footage and dramatic lip-reading, something else hit the timeline. Something colder, sharper, undeniable. The moment the receipts started landing, it started with a ping. One anonymous DM to a popular Atlanta tea page, then another, then 3 more. Within an hour, screenshots slid across the internet like cards on a casino table. These weren't rumors. These were receipts with timestamps, cropped just enough to protect sources, but loud enough to spark hysteria. The first image showed a group chat, familiar usernames blurred but obvious to anyone who'd been paying attention. A message circled in red read, "Don't tell her yet. She'll find out eventually." Below it, another line. Yandy said, "Let it cool down first." That sentence became the internet's new obsession. Who needed context when the implication already felt explosive? Needed context when the implication already felt explosive. Then came voice notes. Low, grainy, clearly recorded in a car. A woman? Notes. Low, grainy, clearly recorded in a car. A woman? Sometimes you got to let people learn things on their own. "I love her, but stepping in ain't always smart." Fans were convinced it was Yandy. Some insisted it was edited. Others swore they recognized her tone from 8 seasons of confessionals. Next drop, a backstage photo from weeks prior. Rasheeda and Yandy smiling together. But now the caption resurfaced with new meaning. Be careful who sits closest. At the time it had been harmless, a cute inspirational line. Now it read like a warning. Yandy accidentally aligned herself with. Twitter didn't stop. Someone posted an old clip where Yandy preached loyalty like scripture, now stitched beside the leaked audio with the caption, "Practice what you post." Hashtags multiplied. Fan pages held mock trials. TikTok detectives slowed audio, enhanced pitch, and compared syllable patterns like CSI with ring lights. Meanwhile, a private message leaked claiming a third party had tried to tell Rasheeda months ago, but was shut down to avoid another storyline. That wording cut deep, suggesting friendship wasn't the priority. Image was bloggers feasted. YouTube thumbnails exploded with red arrows and betrayal confirmed headlines. Rasheeda stayed silent publicly, the most powerful move she could make. Silence becomes a statement when your truth is already echoing. But those close to her allegedly texted cryptic broken hearts, flame icons, zipped lips. Yandy's camp, meanwhile, scrambled to identify who leaked the files. PR group chats buzzed. A stylist tweeted, then deleted. Screenshots never lie, but screenshots don't tell the whole story, either. Too late. Fans screenshotted that, too. By the time evening hit, nobody cared about production schedules anymore. Viewers didn't want scripts, they wanted answers. Because receipts don't just reveal truth, they force the next move. And the next move shifted power, loyalty, and public perception in a way nobody saw coming. Not even the cast, who thought they'd survived every type of storm already. When the dust settled overnight, a surprising shift rippled across the fandom, the cast, and the streets of Atlanta at first. Some viewers tried to defend Yandy, arguing she was choosing peace. That not every truth needs a messenger. That sometimes staying out of someone's business is respect, not betrayal. But as more people replayed the clip and studied every leaked screenshot, tides turned. Sympathy didn't just lean toward Rasheeda Cheetah. It landed on her like a flood because viewers remembered everything she had survived publicly. The heartbreaks, the scrutiny, the whispers about loyalty in marriage and business. She had stood in storms with poise and grace, always advocating for honesty and unity. So when she broke that composure, when her voice cracked under the weight of what she felt, audiences didn't see drama for ratings. They saw a woman tired of being strong for everyone but herself. Meanwhile, the narrative around Yandy shifted. People who once praised her media polish now questioned whether that polish doubled as emotional distance. Whether her neutrality was actually self-preservation dressed as wisdom. Being a good friend means speaking up when it matters. One viral comment read. Another said, "Diplomacy doesn't count when your silence hurts someone you love." The tone was clear. Playing safe suddenly looked like playing selfish. Even castmates reacted differently than expected. Some who had aligned quietly with Yandy started soft stepping away, posting vague quotes about truth and loyalty. Others reposted Rasheeda's older interviews about strength, signaling support without saying a word. Silence spoke loudest, and every unspoken stance was noticed. The show's producers could feel the temperature rising. Viewers weren't waiting for an episode to air to pick sides. The court of public opinion had already stamped judgment, and cameras hadn't even finished recording the season. In a world where influence is currency, vulnerability, raw, unfiltered vulnerability, suddenly outweighed carefully curated control. Rasheeda's didn't win sympathy. She earned solidarity. And just as audiences settled into this new emotional alignment, the people behind the scenes started strategizing their next move. Because when loyalty fractures on camera, PR teams scramble in real life. When emotions turn into headlines, Hollywood-trained instincts kick in. Phones vibrated inside handbags, publicists cleared schedules, and managers whispered into Bluetooth earpieces like battlefield commanders. This wasn't just a cast disagreement anymore. It was a narrative forming without permission. And in the world of reality television, whoever claims the narrative first often wins the war. Yandy's camp moved quickly. A close source fed a clarification to a popular entertainment outlet. She wasn't hiding anything. She was protecting emotional space. The wording felt polished, strategically empathetic, almost too clean for something so raw. Then came the first soft denial on Instagram stories. A fragment of text over a neutral background. Sometimes silence is love, too. Fans rolled their eyes. They weren't looking for philosophy. They were looking for accountability. Meanwhile, Rasheeda didn't post. She didn't speak. She didn't like or repost. In a culture addicted to instant responses, her silence became power. A quiet throne built on authenticity and exhaustion. When someone close to her finally posted a simple black heart emoji and nothing else, The internet took it as confirmation she was choosing dignity over drama. Producers also made moves, though quietly. They called editors, securing footage, reviewing audio, reminding everyone of contracts. Crisis planning wasn't new to them, but this moment felt different. Less manufactured, more human. They knew forcing resolution too soon would look manipulative, so they prepared instead to amplify reality, to let emotions breathe, to let viewers decide. Blogs reached out to stylists, hairstylists, makeup artists, anyone who might spill ill, and even though most politely declined, one insider hinted, this wasn't a storyline, this was real. Those 5 words became a headline within minutes. Brands watched, too. Beauty companies, fashion lines, event partners, they track sentiment the way accountants track debt. When the comment sections flooded with, "We support Rasheeda," partnerships subtly shifted. Loyalty isn't just emotional, it's economic. And just as PR engines finished warming up, something deeper began happening outside of business meetings and digital statements. Something far more personal, because when the spotlight fades, hearts still ache. And the strongest women still question who they can trust when cameras stop rolling. Behind the polished confessionals and glam squads, the truth felt heavy, intimate, and painfully human. Rasheeda sat in her dressing room later that night, jewelry still on, lashes barely hanging, heart loud in her chest. Anger had burned hot on set, but now what lingered was hurt. The deep kind that doesn't shout, it sinks. She replayed conversations in her mind, moments where she believed support was genuine, times she confided, thinking she was safe. Loyalty isn't loud, it's steady. And when steady wavers, everything feels unstable. Yandy in her own quiet space wasn't celebrating control or strategy. She stared at her phone, notifications climbing, yet none of them offering comfort. Her voice note surfaced in her head, the one fans dissected to exhaustion. Was staying quiet really kindness? Or was it convenience? She prided herself on diplomacy, on not throwing people into chaos. But in this case, silence didn't preserve peace. It fractured trust. And now, the question pressed against her chest. Did she protect someone else at the expense of someone who needed her more? Emotions don't follow logic, they follow wounds. Both women felt misunderstood, exposed, raw in different ways. Rasheeda wrestled with betrayal layered over years of public resilience. How many times had she trusted too freely? How many times had she swallowed pain to keep peace? Yandy struggled with the weight of expectation, always poised, always controlling narratives, always the fixer. But what happens when fixing isn't what someone needed? What if they simply needed truth? Friendships on reality television are complicated. Real heart meets real cameras. And in moments like this, reputation and emotion collide. Not a storyline, not as entertainment, but as 2 women learning that even powerful voices can shake when trust breaks. And just when they both thought silence might give space to heal, something surfaced that neither expected. Something that didn't just reopen wounds, but change the entire direction of the storm ahead. Storms don't always break with thunder. Sometimes they begin with a vibration, a notification, a whispered alert, a name lighting up a screen. Rasheeda was still quietly processing when someone knocked on the dressing room door and slid a phone toward her without speaking. One message, one forwarded clip, one voice that changed everything. The moment she pressed play, her breath caught. It wasn't speculation anymore. Pressed play, her breath caught. It wasn't speculation anymore. It wasn't fan theories or suspicious captions. It was confirmation, raw, recorded, impossible to twist. The clip opened with laughter, low and casual, the unmistakable sound of castmates chatting off camera before a shoot weeks earlier. Then a familiar voice, hesitant at first, then clear. I didn't want to tell her because she reacts emotional. Let her find out another way. A second voice agreed softly, adding, yeah, just stay out of it. It's safer. The safer echoed like a punch to the chest. The people she trusted weren't protecting her peace. They were protecting themselves from her reaction, from accountability, from truth. Rasheeda's hand trembled. Not because she was shocked. The heart always knows before the evidence arrives. But because hearing it confirmed her deepest fear. Silence hadn't been kindness. It had been abandonment disguised as caution. And one of those voices belonged to someone she never expected to co-sign the silence. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the set, Yandy received a notification. 2. A tag she wished she could unsee. The clip had leaked, not a screenshot this time, but the full audio. And the comment under it captured the shift perfectly. This wasn't loyalty. This was convenience. Within seconds, fans began calling out names, rewinding, enhancing audio, circling times. It wasn't just Yandy. Now, another castmate's voice was being identified, someone who had smiled beside Rasheeda for years. Loyalty didn't just crack, it crumbled. Social media turned ruthless. Calls for apologies grew louder, and the quiet support her privately arguments evaporated under the weight of truth. This wasn't about gossip anymore. It was about respect. It was about whether love and friendships means protecting someone from pain or telling them the truth even when it hurts. Rasheeda wiped her eyes and lifted her chin. Betrayal breaks people or builds them, and she refused to be broken in silence again. The recording didn't just expose a secret, it reset the battlefield. And while fans braced themselves for chaos, something bigger brewed in the culture beyond the show. Because when real loyalty is questioned in the public eye, the world doesn't just watch, it recalibrates its values. Reactions didn't stop at entertainment circles. They spread into conversations about friendship, feminism, and emotional loyalty in a world where everyone performs strength but quietly aches for truth. Podcasts dissected the moment like a social study. Panels debated whether protecting peace is noble or cowardly when that protection comes at the cost of someone else's dignity. People weren't just watching a show, they were confronting their own experiences with silence, betrayal, and support that arrived too late. Fans posted stories about times they wished someone had warned them, about friendships that dissolved not from a lie, but from withheld truth. Sometimes the betrayal isn't what happened. One tweet read, "It's who knew and stayed quiet." That line went viral, reposted under videos, stitched into TikToks, quoted in think pieces. Commentary moved from drama to psychology. The question shifted from what happened to why did this hurt so deeply. Even community leaders and influencers chimed in. A therapist posted a video explaining emotional abandonment. A relationship coach said, "Silence can be more violent than confrontation." Churches discussed loyalty. Barber hops debated accountability. Group chats turned reflective instead of messy. It wasn't about gossip anymore. It was about principle. And just as everyone settled into deeper meaning, another layer formed: empowerment. Women applauded Rasheeda, not for anger but for demanding clarity. They called it boundary setting, emotional maturity, courage in real time. The narrative shifted from scandal to Through all the noise, one sentiment echoed louder than the vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength sharpened by experience. And fans realized something profound. Watching someone stand up for their emotional truth makes you question where you've been dimming yours. Still, one truth lingered heavy in the air. Even powerful women bleed when loyalty fails. And as emotions swirled into lessons, anticipation built again. Because knowing the truth is one thing, living with it, confronting it, and deciding who deserves space in the next chapter, that's where stories truly climax. The morning after the leak, something shifted in the air. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like sunrise after a sleepless night. Rasheeda walked back onto set with her shoulders straight and her voice calm, not fueled by rage, but clarity. The kind of clarity that arrives only after truth stops whispering and starts roaring. Eyes followed her, some guilty, some nervous, some relieved. Strength doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like peace that refuses to tremble. Yandy approached her slowly, not with cameras chasing, not with confessionals rolling, but as a woman wrestling with the weight of a choice she finally saw clearly. Their eyes met, no shouting, no theatrics. Instead, a quiet acknowledgement of pain on both sides. Silence hovered, not cold now, but honest. Finally, Yandy spoke. "I should have told you. I thought I was protecting you, but I was protecting myself." No excuses, just truth. Rasheeda nodded, not in forgiveness, not in dismissal, but in recognition. Hurt doesn't vanish just because it's named. Trust doesn't rebuild in a sentence, but honesty opens a door. And that was the first step. "Next time," she replied softly, "don't hold my strength against me." Those words hung between them like scripture. Castmates watched, absorbing a lesson bigger than any storyline. Accountability isn't humiliation, it's healing in motion. And even broken trust, when faced directly, can become the soil where new boundaries grow. The scene didn't end with hugs or dramatic exits. It ended with mutual breath. Two women understanding the cost of silence and the courage of truth. Fans wouldn't know yet what their friendship would become. Nobody did. But in that moment, growth replaced spectacle. And even reality TV had no choice but to respect reality itself.